You are listening to episode number 53 with Julie Paulston.
If you're someone who wants to make major changes in their life, someone who wants to achieve their goals, or maybe you're someone who knows this is not as good as it gets, but you have no idea where to start. On the Reinvent You podcast, we explore different types of people, their successes and failures, and how they reinvented themselves to create the life they love. It's our hope that from hearing their stories that you too may have more insight into what it takes to build the life that you envision for yourselves. Here to help you do that is performance and life coach Travis Stewart.
Today on the podcast, my guest is a transformational life coach who brings humor, passion, and compassion in her journey to help women rise from the ashes of their lives to rediscover their divine inner phoenix. She has over 30 years in recovery. She brings multiple personal experiences and strategies to rediscover who you were before the world told you who you should be. This last year has been so pivotal in her journey to rediscovering her own purpose and her passion to serve others. She is a contributing author for the Women's Health and Wellness Network, and she has appeared on Ladies of Light with Melanie Colton and Ask the Expert with Letitia Johnson. She has her own podcast called Be the Phoenix of Your Own Life, where no subject is off the table. I had such a great conversation with Julie today. We discussed a various array of things. I did love that I felt like our energy fed off of one another. She, even though we weren't in the physical room together, I felt like the energy that she brought to the Zoom was as if we were in the same room together. And so today on the podcast, we discussed, how Julie was working through adversity and how she came out on the other side. We also talked about her journey going through sobriety, starting at the age of 12 and finding her true self. And then we also talked about the importance of chucking it in the fucking bucket. That was Julie's challenge that she did on Facebook that she is going to run again sometime. And I just love the name of it. And so we discussed so many other things. And I think you're going to find so much value from this podcast on how to move through adversity and connect with others. So welcome to episode number 53 with Julie Paulston. Julie, thank you so much for joining the Reinvent You podcast today. I feel so very honored, and I think our energy will match each other. So there may be some times where we have to tone each other down or whatever, because we don't want people to have to go get, Ritalin to listen to our episode, But, I love that because I think that's what life is about. It's about sharing these conversations. It's about this energy that's engaging. And my top values are love and connection. So I'm so excited to share love and connection with you today, Julie. So welcome to the Reinvent You podcast.
Thank you. I'm beyond excited to be here. I saw the Reinvent You and I was like, the Phoenix is my brand. I think I'm all about reinvention.
Absolutely, guys. And yeah, there will be some people who only listen to this episode, just the audio, but there will be some people, because it'll be on my YouTube channel, who see that beautiful Phoenix behind you. And I was just so drawn to it. I love that. So, let's just dive right into it. What is Julie Paulston's Cliff Notes story? Who is Julie?
So, Cliff Notes story, I've been an educator for a Fortune 500 company. I was with them for 8.5 years. COVID hit. I got stuck in my house. I don't do well being isolated. I don't know if you can gather that I have a little bit of a big personality. I like being out with people. And being stuck in my house and becoming a paper pusher and a conference call for a conference call to discuss the conference call that we need to have the conference call about.
Right.
So my attitude went to crap. And July 11th, I went out with some friends of mine on a boat and I broke my wrist in 3 places. So then my attitude got even worse. And so August 27th, they decided to part ways with me. And that's a polite way of saying you're fired. And then September 15th, Hurricane Sally came to Pensacola, and I ended up with 3.5 feet of water in my house, and I lost everything that I owned. So I was broke, busted, and disgusted, and sitting in a pit of shit. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why is all this happening to me? And I determined that it wasn't happening to me, it was happening for me, because I was
Yes.
finally able to stop and slow down enough to hear the universe saying, we got something better for you. If you would just shut your pie hole and let us speak, we got something for you.
I love that. Thank you so much. So Julie, we don't just wake up on the right side of the bed and go, this is happening for me instead of to me. Most
Oh no.
people, yeah. How did you become that person who could see the lessons through that and to know that I'm going to be better for it on the other side?
I think that I had a little bit of a benefit because I also have over 30 years of sobriety. So this is not the first time that the shit has hit the fan in my life.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and I also have been, if I told you that, seriously, Trey, if I told you that I was happy when this happened and I was just finding the gratitude in that, I would be a huge liar, because I wasn't. It
Right.
really took me slowing down, and I entered this contest and I won this contest about building your brand and all that stuff, and I'm sitting here still trying to find a job. Like I'm like putting out resumes and doing all this stuff because I had a really cush corporate job, and to have that ripped away from you, it's terrifying. I mean, and then
Mm-hmm.
to lose my house, I'm like, how the hell am I going to even pay rent? And when I won that contest and got introduced to a couple of really powerful coaches, they said, why are you fighting so hard? What do you want to do? And I've always said, I want to motivate, I want to motivate, educate, and inspire people to live their best
Yeah.
lives. And they're like, can you do that with the trajectory you're on? And I'm like, well, no. And they're like, okay. So I was at the beach. I live in Pensacola, Florida. Don't hate, but I was on the beach watching the sunrise, and I was having a moment where I was sobbing and just pissed at life, at Gus, God, universe, spirit is what I call him,
Mm-hmm.
just pissed. And then I sat there and I'm like, listen, girl, you could either be bitter or you could be better. If you get bitter, everybody who has been hating on you and everybody who has been rooting for you to fail, and all those people that were in your boat that were drilling holes when you thought they were
Mm.
rowing,
Yeah.
they're going to win. So you can
That's
be
good.
bitter, or you can get better and live your truth and live your life and stand in your power and stand in everything that you hold dear, and let the chips fall where they may.
Wow. Okay. I love that. I love everything that you said, but I still want to dive a little deeper
Okay.
because that sounds like you get to that point after you've had coaching, after you've been around people. What if Julie is somebody who only knows from her environment that friends who are like, I'm giving up on this shit. The hurricane came. I'm just going on like public assistance. I'm doing all this stuff. What if you're not surrounded in the coaching world? What if you don't have people inspiring you? How do you crawl out of that without these other tools?
So I remember when I was in my sobriety and I lost my house, lost my job, once again another reinvention, another
Mm-hmm.
rebirth of me. I didn't have coaches. I didn't have shit around me.
Right.
All I knew is the only thing that I knew is that I didn't want to be where I was.
Mm. Okay.
That's all I knew, is that I was like,
Yeah.
I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, listen, do you want to be here? And I've attempted suicide in my past. I mean, there's my story could be like 5 episodes,
Holy
but
smokes. Yeah.
in in that moment, I was like, okay, number one, I know I don't want to die. I don't want to drink. I just don't want to hurt anymore. I don't want to be sitting in the swirling vortex of doom anymore. So I thought, okay, I don't need to know where I'm going. I just need to do what's going to feel better now. And so I
Got
just
it.
went and literally went onto YouTube and typed in how to get out of depression, because I'd
Mm.
lost my job. I didn't have insurance. So I couldn't go and get a counselor.
Right.
I'm struggling trying to find some place to live. I didn't have the money to go and pay for a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally went on YouTube, because, YouTube has a video for
It
everything. And I went
does.
on there and I was like, how do I battle depression. I don't even remember what I typed in there, but
Yeah.
a video popped up and I listened to it and I was like, oh, okay. And then I listened to another one and I
Mm.
listened to another one and I listened to another one. And then I started looking for people who were where I wanted to be.
Yes.
And I started to reach out, even though they were so far ahead of me.
Hmm.
That I'm like, they're not going to want to talk to me. It's just, I'm sitting in the shit. They don't want to talk to me. But I reached out to some people and they were like, this is what I did. And
Yeah.
they answered me. And I was blown away. I was like, whoa, wait, this person actually talked to me.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme of life, they weren't that huge media big person, but they were a person that was at a place that I wanted to be. And I wanted what they had so badly
Right.
that I was willing to risk my ego. I was willing to risk my feelings. I was willing to risk whatever it took because I didn't want, I was so devastated. I didn't want to hurt anymore. And I knew
Yeah.
that if I didn't do something that I would start drinking again. And if I know me well enough to know that if I start drinking again, you might as well just call a hearse.
Wow. Wow. I love that. And so I love how you define, I just don't want to be here anymore. And so, yeah, that's one step better. That's one day at a time. Oh, I totally
Yep.
love that. So you've touched on a couple of things that I'm very curious about. You said you've been sober for 30 years. Right? You touched on a lot of
Yeah.
things that I'm curious about. You've been sober for 30 years.
Yeah.
So when did you get sober?
So I'm 53.
Okay.
I started drinking and using I started drinking when I was 12. My journey with drugs started when I was about 17, and I
Wow.
got sober when I was almost 22.
My mouth is on the floor because you said you started drinking at 12 and doing drugs
Yeah.
at 17. More about the drinking at 12. How are you a 12-year-old and you start drinking? Are you sneaking into your parents' liquor cabinet? Are you hanging out in the middle of, how do you start drinking at 12?
So it was funny because I did an interview this morning with someone. He does a recovery podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
he said the same thing. He's like, "Dude, what happened? Why'd you start drinking at 12?" I said, "It's funny because everybody that asked me, like all the counselors I went through, they're all like, so Julie, how was your family life? What went wrong to cause you to start drinking at 12?" I had a badass family life. Like my dad was an airline pilot, my mom was a nurse. I have great brothers and sisters. I had a great childhood. For whatever reason, at 12 years old, I drank a half a bottle of wine and discovered in that I could be somebody completely different.
Yes. Okay.
And then and I didn't drink all the time at 12, but I started doing more. And yeah, I got in my parents' liquor cabinet. I remember one time my dad had friends over and he's like pouring them drinks. And they're like, Don, you need to put some booze in here. And he's like, well, I put like 2 shots, and they're like, this tastes like water. And he's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And he tasted it. And he was like,
It
I have
was
a brother and a
water.
sister. I happen to be the oldest, but the first thing out of his mouth was Julie Yvonne Paulston. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm so busted right now. Because I would pour water into the bottles of liquor because they
What?
didn't drink.
Yeah. After you had just disposed of it, guzzled it down.
Yeah, I didn't know how to drink back then. I was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, and most of it tasted like shit, and I didn't do it a whole lot. But then I got to high school and understood that MD 2020 and Kool-Aid tasted good.
Oh, I see. Wow.
And it allowed me, Trey, to become somebody, because even though I had a great childhood, and I will fight somebody and throat punch you if you say that my childhood was anything but idyllic. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
People who fight addiction have a predisposition to the disease. And
Mm.
it is a dis-ease. There's a dis-ease, a disconnection mentally with people who fight addiction. And so it allowed me, even though I was cool and I was, I have great personality and I tended to be popular, I never felt like I fit in. So that gave me the avenue to fit in. It gave me the
Yeah.
avenue to become this different person, to be this larger than life person that I felt was going to be more accepted than who I was at my core.
Right. Wow. And so when you got sober at what, almost 22?
Almost 22. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the catalyst? What was that light that went off that said, I need to get my shit together or I'm going to end up where?
So in when people are in AA, they have this thing is called being 13 stepped, and that's when you like meet somebody and they drag you to a meeting and you date them. And so that's
Okay.
what happened is I met this guy at a bar, and he happened to take he's like, I asked him what he did, and he told me that he was a cook at a treatment facility. And so me not knowing anything about it, I thought he was talking about sewage, and I was like, so people cook shit for a living? I mean, that's disgusting.
Right.
I'm like, what the hell? Okay, that's a job. Okay, buddy. If that okay. But anyways, we ended up dating, and he kept inviting me to these AA meetings, and I would drop him off at the meeting and I would go to the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Well, finally one day he said, listen, I really, really care about you. I want you to come to this candlelight meeting. People won't even be able to really see who you are. I was like, if this will get you off my back, I'll go to the damn meeting. Fine,
Right.
I'll go. And I'm sitting in the meeting and I'm listening to all these people, and I was like, ooh, I am not like them. I haven't been homeless in years. Ooh, nope, that's not
Of
me. Oh, nope,
course.
that's not me. And then all of a sudden, the last woman who spoke, I'm sitting there and I'm like watching my watch, like, can we go now? The bar's gonna close pretty soon. Can we please go? And she started talking, and it was like I got poleaxed because Tracy told my story. Like it was like
Yeah.
listening to myself, and I just lost it. I like started bawling, and I just had this panic attack because I realized that what I thought was fun and what I thought was how I was going to be better at living my life, I realized that all of the demons that I was battling were because I had a problem. And
Yeah.
in that moment, that was August 29th, 1989.
Wow. That's, and so I'm sure that date is somewhere on a coin, you know?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
It is, and it's burned into my brain. And it's funny
Yeah.
because every year around July, I experience up leveling. Something happens, something changes, something shifts. Last year, we had the trifecta of unfortunate events. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now I'm so excited to be able to just serve and share and lead and just, I've discovered this side of me that I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. I mean, people get to do this.
Right. So how do you show up like and what is that thing, because like I drink alcohol, I love beer, and one of the
Right.
things that I look forward to when I'm hanging out with friends is trying different beer, you know.
Right.
What is it outside of connection, outside of great
Right.
conversation? What do you reach for in those times when in those social outings to like propel Julie to the social gathering, the person, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody has their thing. What is your thing that gets you up to your 10?
So for me, I thrive in environments where there's really good energy.
Mm,
So when I go, and it's funny because people tell you, oh, don't go. I go out to the club. Well, pre-COVID, I would go out dancing. To me, I feed off other people's energy.
mm-hmm.
And when I go to the bar, I always get a Sprite with 2 limes. That's my thing. And it was when I first started doing it, it was because I didn't want people to realize that I was sober and I wasn't drinking. But now I don't give a shit. I
Right.
drink water too. So my thing is really it is that connection. It is that, who are you, and how can, number one, are we an energetic match? And if you're
Right.
not, bye. If you are, I have no patience whatsoever. If you are
Mm-hmm.
not an energetic match, and if I can't serve you and create my dream, then you got to go, because if we're not matching on an energetic level, then you're not going to understand
Mm,
what I'm saying. I'm not going to understand what you're saying. Is to be like, you're speaking French and I'm speaking, German, and we're not going to understand each other.
right.
But it's that connection with people that really feeds my soul, is to be able to watch people laugh and watch
Yeah.
people be happy and to have grace and gratitude and ease in their lives. And I surround myself now with people who trigger me.
On
Like
purpose?
I surround myself with women who trigger me.
Okay, when I hear the word trigger, I always think I have negative connotations when I hear the word trigger, and I think they're pissing me off. They're saying something. They're hurting
Yep.
my feelings.
Yep.
Oh, you like
Yep.
that? Oh, you like that? I see.
So it's the women who are where I want to be, and it pisses me off that they're like, oh, I did this, and oh, I did this, and they made it look so fucking easy
Right.
that it triggers me into, and not in a negative sense of, oh, I hate them, she's such a bitch because she did that. It triggers me in the sense of, what are they doing? How did they get there? And if they can do it, I can do it.
Wow.
That's what I like.
I'm so curious that you use the word trigger rather than something like these women who inspire me, who motivate me. Why trigger you?
Oh no. No, they because here's the thing, is they're doing it with such ease that it triggers an area in my life that I know I need to heal.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
if you're healed in that point in your life, then they won't trigger you. They won't give you that urge to move forward. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. For me, when I get triggered, it sparks something inside of me that goes, why, number one, why are you pissed off?
Right.
So it creates self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you pissed off that they're making 100 grand a month? What about them making 100 grand a month pisses you off? Oh, it's because you're not making that? Okay, so why aren't you making that?
Right.
So it creates that need and that thirst for knowledge and to find out, what are they doing that I'm not? Because
Right.
you got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyeballs, and a mouth and 2 ears. I should be able to do the same thing you do. You got
Oh,
24 hours. I got 24
we
hours.
all have the same amount, right?
So why are you making 100 G's a month and I'm not? And how
Right.
do I get there?
Okay. Okay. So that's your gas on the bonfire, fuels
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Okay, I get that. So, Julie, I suspect that you're so multifaceted, multidimensional, and
A little
it's
bit.
pretty clear that your mess, your story, your mess has become your message, right? What's
Oh, absolutely.
another work that out story? The original name of my podcast was Work That Out. And I love hearing stories of, my back was up against the wall, which I know Hurricane Sally did that for you. What's another time where you're like, I had to figure shit out. I got to work that out. And you did.
So I'm like, now my little internal Rolodex is going.
Pull a card.
Pull a card, any card.
Yep.
Let me see. What age would you like it to be from? It's I was a single mom for a long time. So my oldest son I gave up for adoption. And it was I had him just before I turned 21, and I kept him for 2 months.
Mhm.
And then I relinquished him for adoption. He and I are best friends now, so that's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that's so cool.
but that kicked me into that final stretch of my disease and before I got sober. And for me, that was one of the times where I really found myself up against a wall, is because even though I was deep into my disease, and even though I was deep into despair, I knew that I couldn't take care of him.
Mhm.
And I knew that even though I kept him for 2 months and I really wanted to be a mom, and I really wanted to, not fail, because to me,
Right.
when I gave him up for adoption, to me that was failing. Um, it was realizing that somebody else's life is so much more important than mine,
Mhm.
and understanding that his life was more important. And from that, yeah, I dove off the deep end and spent almost a year really, really testing the boundaries of my life. Um, and through that, it has gotten to the point where now, when I get my back up against the wall, one of the biggest things for me is I ended up having a heart procedure in 2010. And at that point in time, 2010, 2011, I sat about 280 pounds.
Mhm.
And my doctor told me, if you don't do something, you're going to die.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
And I still was like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And then the realization comes in that you have it, once again, you have a choice. You can either choose life, or you can keep going down the path that you're going to go down.
Mm.
And if you choose life, it's not that it's just going to be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns are going to be shitting out, glitter and all that. That's
Mm-hmm.
not, some days it's barely being able to get out of bed.
Right.
And
Wow.
it's in those moments where you can't even get out of bed that you make those small choices
Right.
of, okay, I can't function today, so today I'm gonna move from the bed to the couch,
Mm-hmm. Small steps.
and I'm gonna be on the couch, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then the next day, okay, well, maybe today I'm gonna take a shower and I'm gonna sit on the couch again, but this day I took a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, well, maybe this day I'm actually gonna go outside and go to the mailbox. And it's those little tiny steps, and when I say those things, it's because I've been there. I've had to make those steps of where I just wanted to lay in bed and I didn't want to get out of bed
Yeah.
because I thought I'm too chicken shit to commit suicide, because I'd already tried it and it didn't work for me. Obviously, I'm sitting here, but I was too chicken shit to commit suicide. I was too chicken shit to relapse and start drinking again. And so it was battling the demons. And I'm finding that when I stand in front of the wall of my demons, we have to do this. You stand in the front of the wall of your demons and they will laugh at you. They will make fun of you. They're going to tell you you're not worthy. They're going to tell you you're not enough. They're going to tell you your ideas are stupid. You shouldn't do this. Who are you to think you can do that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally plucking them out one by one and saying, you don't serve me anymore. You've
Yeah.
got to go. And just throwing them. I think of like the Little Mermaid, the movie The Little Mermaid,
Yeah.
Ursula, when she like plucks the souls out and uses them as lipstick. That's what I think of my demons as. Like, I think of this wall of these little demon faces and I just pluck them out, use it as lipstick, and
Yeah.
toss them and keep it moving, because every elevation you get to, there's going to be a brand new wall. And until you empty the wall that you're in front of, you can't go to the next level.
Mm. I love that. It's so interesting to me how, like, even though, we're both coaches, how our methodology is different. I love that. And I love just, conversing with others and learning. So, Julie, now I know quite a bit about you now. Who did the world tell you you needed to be before you figured out who Julie wanted to be?
The world told me that I was too active. The world told me that I
Mm,
was too loud. The world
yes.
told me that I was too loud. I was too active. My ideas were too big, that I needed to calm down and to focus and to, you need to calm down, Julie. You need to focus and you need to get a real job. Or, Julie, you shouldn't be out there like that. People are going to say stuff about you, and you need to fit into the societal norms.
Hmm.
And through my lifetime, it's being 53, Trey, I can tell you that it's only been probably in the last 4 years that I've really started stepping into who I want to be,
Yeah.
because it's so ingrained in us. And
Hmm.
I told somebody the other day, I said, when we, as women, and even as men, but as women, when you're 2 years old, your parents are doing the best they have with what they have.
Right.
And at that point in time in their life, most of the time as a little girl, they hand you a dolly
Hmm.
and they say, okay, Trey, here's your baby. Take care of her. Don't let anything happen to your baby.
Right.
So what happens when we're 2 years old is we think, okay, I have to take care of the baby. And as we get older, I have to take care of my siblings. I have to take care of my friends. I have to take care of my parents. I have to take care of this. I have to take care of this. And everything is taking care of everything outside of
Hmm.
you. Never in our lives for the most part, I won't say never because there are some people that do, but for the most part, we're never taught how to take care of ourselves.
Right.
We're not taught how to take care of our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We're taught how to spend all of our energy on everybody else. But then when it comes to putting the oxygen mask on, we're still looking for other
Yeah.
people to put it on instead of putting it on ourselves.
Yeah.
So it really took me going through, all of the things that I went through to finally get to the point where my give a shit button broke. And going through what happened this last year, the trifecta of unfortunate events, not only did my give a shit button broke, I stepped on it, I squished it, I tore it apart, and I threw it in the garbage. And I speak who I am. I say what I feel. I love hard, and I match the energy of what's in the room. And if you are not meant for me, I love you, but you got to go.
You gotta go.
You got to
Wow.
go. You cannot be an energy vampire in my life.
Mm-hmm. Why does it take?
You have got to go.
Why does it take us so long to get there? Because, I'm only 2 years younger than you. I just had my 51st birthday in February, and I have been, thank you. It's been a couple of months, but it's probably been less than 10 years that I've been creeping and creeping and creeping. Now, from coaching, I've been like sprinting to be my true self.
Right.
Why does it take us so long? Like, don't you wish you were that person you could identify those things at 22?
Here's the thing. So my mom, it's so funny that you say that. So my mom, I love my mother. My mom she's a badass chick. So my mom asked me one time, she's like, Julie, everything that you've been through, wouldn't you want to go back and like know what you know now back at 22? And I said, no. And she said, wait, what? I said, no, because here's why. Trey, if you didn't go through every single solitary thing you went through, you wouldn't be the woman who's sitting here now.
Very true.
So
Very true.
every single thing, no matter how horrible it was, every single thing that I went through, it's like, I always reference the butterfly effect with Ashton Kutcher. If you've never seen that movie, I highly suggest you see it because it makes so much sense now when I see it. If you go back and say, okay, well, I want to go back to that point in time where I got raped and not let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I go back to that, but then what are the events that happen after that? It's not going to keep you on a linear path because now that you've made that choice, everything else around you changes.
Right.
And I would not give up no matter all the things that I've been through. I wouldn't give them up because I probably wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't have my life.
Right.
And no matter how rough it gets, every day I get to wake up and decide, who am I going to be today? Am I going to be on the bitch train or am I going to be the conductor on the bliss train? Some days I wake up and I'm on the bitch train. I'm like, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And then I have to think, I'm like, whoa, brake check. Are you on the bitch train or the bliss train? Oh, I'm on the bitch train. Let's just pull into this station and change trains and go on over here. It happens. I don't know a coach out there that is rainbow and sparkles every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
There isn't one.
Yeah. No, we all have our own shit to deal with.
Exactly.
Wow, that's incredible. So I love how you have all these little rhymey phrases, I love that. It's like,
I'm the queen of analogies. When I was teaching, that's what they're like, Julie, you're like the queen of analogies. And I'm like, well, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I have a Dory brain sometimes. I got to have it to where I teach to the 5-year-old in the room and some people get offended by that. And I'm like, no, because I have to be able to explain it in a way that makes sense. If I start talking on a level, where with hair stuff for hair color, oh, well, you need to have a natural level and your eyes are going to roll in the back of your head. You're going to check out and all the lessons that you could have learned are going to be gone.
Absolutely. I did see on Facebook that you did a challenge recently called Chuck It in the Fuck It Bucket.
Oh, you saw that, huh?
That's the funniest shit ever. Chuck it in the fucking bucket. Tell me, what was the premise behind that? And I know, and I have a feeling like you're going to do that challenge again. So we can just introduce people to it right now.
Oh my God. So I was talking to a friend of mine who's also a coach, and we were talking about like the different programs, and I have like my flagship program, and then I had some other stuff, and I said, I saw this little meme that said, some days you just want to chuck it in the fuck it bucket. And I went,
Yeah.
and we were talking, and I said, girl, I said, I can't tell you how many days I just want to just let it go and chuck it in the fuck it bucket and move on. And it was this little voice went, Julie, that's a course, that's a
There it
challenge.
is.
And I
There it
said, Heather,
is.
what do you think? What would happen? And I said, should I name it that? She's like, hell yes, you should name it that. So it was how to chuck it in the fuck it bucket and move on with grace and ease. And the premise was we all have something that we need to chuck in the fuck it bucket, whether it's
Yeah.
those gold jeans. You know, you have those jeans in the closet that you're like, oh, I'm going to wear those again someday.
Right.
No, you're not. And even if you get to that weight, you're going to want to buy a new pair of jeans. I'm not going
Right.
to want my Jabot jeans from 1989. I'm going to want some new jeans.
Oh, I'm totally
Yeah, I
loving
said
you
Jabot
now.
jeans.
I'm totally loving you
Yeah,
now.
I said Jabot jeans.
Oh, I had every color. There's nobody else on here who's gonna know what Jabot jeans were. They're the best fitting jeans ever.
I just threw those jeans away 4 years ago.
Wow. I
I
can't
mean, they
believe
had
they haven't
holes
come
in
back.
them, and
Yeah.
I would love it if they made a comeback, because those were the most comfortable jeans in the world.
I know.
But
Oh,
that was like
wow.
the premise is that everybody has something that you really want to let go of. And
Yeah.
and I did it on the premise of being fun and light and happy and doing that. And and we did an unvision board.
Oh, I
So
like that.
we did a board, and you put everything on the board that you wanted to let go of.
Yeah.
And so it was a 5-day challenge, and through the week we worked through stuff. And it was funny because the very first night I was thinking, it's getting rid of all the Tupperware containers without lids, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Oh no, those women dropped, I want to get rid of my abandonment issues.
Mm,
I
yeah.
want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of my self-loathing. And I'm sitting there thinking, this was supposed to be about jeans. This was not this Tupperware. This was like,
Tupperware.
you have a neck. This was about that necklace that your boyfriend gave you that you don't even wear anymore, but you hold on to it because of
Yeah.
whatever reason. It's time to let it go. And so I was a little worried, but I thought, you know what, Julie? We're going to follow the room. We're going to follow and see what happens.
There you go.
And I had 21 people, 22 people in the challenge. And I have had people reaching out to this day that said, when are you running it again?
Right.
When are you running it again? And people, the testimonies that I got, and there was a couple of people that's what it was, is they were like, I want to get rid of my ex. I want to get rid of all the shit that he gave me. Why am I holding on to it?
Absolutely.
And there's a reason why we hold on to things. There's an emotional connection to why we hold on to them. And that whole course is really about how to chuck it in the fucking bucket and move on.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun. It was really,
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a quarterly thing that I do, because it was super, super fun.
Right. Oh my God. I totally love that. So Julie, what is the work outside of that challenge, chucking it in a fucking bucket? What is the work that you do with your clients?
So for me, I do a lot of group coaching.
Mhm.
So I work with my quote unquote demographic is women. In fact, the best way I can describe it. So I just put my highest intention is up on my wall. I'm doing my goals and all stuff. And so my
Yeah.
highest intention, this is who I am. I wrote up there, I said, my highest intention is to spark a global movement that empowers women to rise from the ashes of their lives, to reclaim their divine inner phoenix, and to discover who they were before the world told them who they should be.
Oh, that's so great. That's a powerful thing. Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
I do. And the reason why I have the phoenix is because I've had people come to me and they're like, well, Julie, my life is good. I don't want to change everything in my life. But your course is talking about rebirth and redoing, and it's discovering.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get on autopilot. I have a lot of corporate women that I work with that are just burnt out because they're working so hard
Right.
and they just don't see an end to it. Or the women who are maybe empty nesters who have given everything to their children and their husbands, and all of a sudden their kids go away and they're like, what the hell do I do now? What do I like to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I work with women who don't even know how to have fun. I told a woman, I'm like, well, let's figure out what you like to do for fun.
Yeah. And they've
And she
forgotten.
could not come up with something that she liked to do for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so we made little baby steps. I said, okay, so what's the weather like? She goes, oh, it's pouring down rain. I said, okay, I want you to go out. I said, do you have a pair of flip-flops? She said, yep. I said, okay, put me on speakerphone. I said, I want you to go out and I want you to jump in a mud puddle.
Boom.
She's like, what? It's going to get all dirty and wet and yucky. And I'm like, do you have a washing machine? Do you have a
Right.
shower? Come on. I'll go.
Yeah.
It's not raining where I'm at, but let's go outside. Let's play in a mud puddle. When's the last time you made a mud sandwich?
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you colored?
Yeah.
So now I've got her coloring, and now it's all of a sudden she remembered that she wanted to do art.
Yeah.
But she started in this corporate job and she got married and had kids and did all this stuff. And now she colors, and now she's like, Julie, I bought a paint set.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about, is just discovering you're happy, just discovering something that is going to help you rediscover that inner goddess and divine inner being that you are at your core, that you just
Yeah.
have stuffed down for so long. It's playing with that child within, it's playing with that. And some people listening might be like, oh, that inner child bullshit. It's true though. If you allow yourself to be a 5-year-old, even if it's only for 5 minutes, go lay outside, look at the clouds going over, and see if you can pick out a shape.
Mm-hmm.
Do the little things. Go to a park. Me, I go to the beach. When shit hits
Yeah.
fan, first thing I do is I go to the beach because that's my place. That's my happy place.
Mm-hmm.
But that's who I work with. I work with women who just really want to rediscover that inner beauty that they just have lost.
Yeah. I love that. I think that sounds incredible. So if you're 53 now,
Yep.
let's say you're going to live another 47 years.
Yes.
What is the biggest, most audacious thing you want to accomplish in that time?
Oh, well, to begin with, number one, I'm going to be on Oprah Super Soul Sunday. She doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to be on Oprah Super Soul Sunday.
I love that.
Ellen is going to be on my podcast.
Ellen DeGeneres?
She doesn't know it yet. Yes.
Perfect.
She's like, hi, we even look the same. Well, okay, she's a lot prettier than me, but we resemble each other. She's my spirit sister. Ellen's going to be on my podcast. I'm going to have Brene Brown on my podcast.
Ooh.
My biggest goal, though, that I have wanted to do ever since when I first heard of motivational speaking, and the very first time it crossed my path, I want to be on a stage with Tony Robbins and Lisa Nichols.
Wow. Yeah. Big ballers, baby.
That's what I want to do. I want to be able to spark that global movement.
Yeah.
To be able to stand on that stage and be able to show all of my bumps and bruises and wounds and all of that. Like, I'm doing a podcast and it's still, it's hard for me to say it. I'm doing a podcast all about my experience of having an abortion. Because, and when I told my mom that, she was like, oh, you're going to talk about that? Like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
It's part of my journey.
Right.
And if people don't like me and hate me because of the fact that happened to me in my life, bye, number one. Number two, I would invite you, though, to set aside what your beliefs are, because a belief is only a thought you keep thinking. So if you start a different thought, you can change your beliefs. But understand what happened, because there's so many women that have walked in those shoes that feel that they're the only ones.
Mm-hmm.
They feel guilt, shame, desperation, anger. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you, but that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's why I want to get to that stage, because I want to be able to let everybody know that no matter what it is that
Yeah.
you think you've done wrong in your life, it's never wrong.
Oh, I love that.
It's never wrong.
Yeah. We have so much
You
in
made a
common.
decision. You made a decision at a point in time in your life that was the best decision that you could make with the information that you had.
Right. Yeah.
So why is it wrong? You're never going to get it done, because the minute you get to what you think your goal is, it's going to spark something else. And you're like, oh, but yes, I want to do that too. And I want to do that too. So you're never going to get it done. So that means you're never going to get anything wrong.
Oh, that's
It's
good.
just a
Yeah.
lesson.
That's a good perspective. I love that.
There's no such thing as failure.
Because we can learn from everything.
None.
Yeah.
You learn. It's a lesson or a blessing. And in the moment, it's a lesson. But some of my biggest lessons are now my biggest blessings.
I get that. I totally get that. Wow. We have so much in common, you and me, because my thing is you want to be on Tony Robbins and Lisa Nichols' stage, which I've done some training with both of them. I want to be on Brendan Burchard's stage.
I love him. The Motivation Manifesto is my favorite book in the whole entire
It's
world.
a
In fact,
great
I could
book.
just go grab it right out of my closet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love him.
He was the one that sparked it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I could, I had a friend on the podcast, and she said, what is your big goal? And I said, it all started with Brendan Burchard. It will be a full evolution if I can. Exactly what you just said. I want to be impactful. My mission is to change the lives of 1 million people.
Yes.
I want to be that catalyst that helps people realize that there is more, right? And I want to do it with Brendan Burchard because he did that for me. And you know what she said? When that happens, will you invite me?
You're like, why? Yes, I will.
Well, yes, yeah. But you know what? She validated for me that it's possible when she said, will you invite me? And I was like I almost cried during the pod. I wear my feelings on my sleeve. So I feel all of my emotions all the time.
I mean, it's so funny because when I sat here and Trey, I'm not even kidding. I sat here for a second and I thought, do I say that word or don't I? And my whole chest and my whole shoulders and everything were up in my ears. And I thought, say it, because if you can't say it now, you're not going to be able to lead someone through the fire.
Absolutely.
Say it. And so I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to say it. Okay,
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Hopefully nobody decided, oh, I don't want to listen to Trey's podcast anymore. So.
Right. You know what? I've come to the realization that there are people who are already destined to listen to the podcast, to be my people, to work with me. And so I don't get my panties in a wad about that anymore.
Nah,
because there will be so many people who find value from everything that you shared with us today. And I 100% believe that. So, wow. So thank you so much, Julie. So just one last thing, where can people connect with you? How can they get a little bit of this energy and be in your vortex? How can they connect with Julie Paulston?
So the easiest way is to find, I wish I could, for my people that are younger, I struggle with Instagram, but I'm on there. Okay. And for anybody that's listening to the podcast, please, for the love of Peter, Paul, and Mary and everything that's holy, would you please read the show notes? Because that's where you're going to find me. My links are going to be in the show notes. Yes. Because if you're driving or if you're out walking and you happen to be listening to this, you're not going to write this shit down. Come on, let's just be honest. Mm-hmm. You can find me on Facebook, Julie Paulston. It's Paulston. And then I'm on Instagram. And my link for Instagram is interesting. It's GR, the number 8. Yeah. FUL, the number 4, life. Love so that. It's grateful for life. And then my other Instagram, my business one, if you want to call it that, is Divine Phoenix Rising. That's my other Instagram. And then my podcast is Be the Phoenix of Your Own Life. Got it. Yep. Right. All right. Well, Julie, thank you so much. This was incredible. No, it really was. Thank you. I'm so excited. This was so much fun. It was. Oh my God. If you like what you're hearing, and perhaps you're interested in having a complimentary conversation with me, click the link at the bottom of the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. If you even want to know more about what I'm up to, head over to traviastewart.com. And if you like seeing the videos of the podcast, every episode is on my YouTube channel. Take care, guys.